And now, Edgewood Theatre Arts brings you a story that children for many generations have loved. A warm and tender portrait that you will all remember. Edgewood Theatre Arts is proud to present Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. My little women, my four very precious little women. Sometimes I see them still as they were in those days. Dark days for us, trying days, with their father still away in some distant army camp. And yet, even in those days, Christmas came again. And since I was busy at the army hospital, my little women decorated the tree for themselves.
Amy, it needs another string of popcorn here.
And a few more angels. I'll paint them, Joe.
I think it's a beautiful Christmas tree.
Well, it's nice, Beth. But
what, Joe?
Meg, Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents.
No, it's so dreadful to be poor.
Well, I can tell you one thing. We won't always be poor. Someday I'll be a famous writer and make my fortune selling stories. And you'll all ride around in fine carriages and have servants and money and dozens of dresses.
I should like that.
So, there's no use fretting now. Come on, let's rehearse our Christmas play. Amy, I wrote a new scene for you. It's wonderful.
Oh, no.
It's perfectly simple. All you have to do is shout, "Rodrigo, Rodrigo, save me!" and faint.
Rodrigo, Rodrigo, save me, and faint. I can do that. I've planned my costume, too. It's absolutely plain, with all the colors of the rainbow in it.
Impossible.
Why? I'm a princess, am I not?
You're a princess, but you don't know it. You think you're a servant girl working for Beth. I mean Hagar, the witch.
A princess always knows she's a princess.
Well, you don't. Look, Beth has just left the stage with her kettle full of simmering toads. You're locked in the tower. Suddenly I enter. I'm Hugo, the villain. And you cry out in horror, "Rodrigo, Rodrigo, save me!" and faint. Then Rodrigo, that's Meg, enters.
Meg? Rodrigo? I thought Meg was Don Pedro, my father.
She is, but you don't know it.
Does Meg know?
Of course I do.
Then I want to know too. Why shouldn't I?
Because if you know who you are, the play is over.
Well, it's too long anyways.
Amy, please. After all, it's my play and...
And what?
Look, you can see him through the window.
Who?
That boy next door. He's watching us again.
Where?
Let me see.
I want to see him.
I certainly would like to know him. I'd like to know a boy for a change.
Joe, that's brazen. They say in the village he's a very wild sort. He ran away from school and they couldn't trace him anywhere. And finally, they found him in an army hospital, wounded.
How perfectly splendid. I would like to do that.
A fine soldier you'd make.
And now he's staying with his grandfather, Mr. Lawrence, and while he's recovering, he has a tutor.
I wonder how I can get to know him. Perhaps our cat might get lost, and he might bring it back, and we might get to talking.
I don't think that's very romantic.
No one said anything about romance. Yoo-hoo! Hello?
Joe, you're disgracing us. What will he think?
He'll think I'm awful, but he did wave back.
There must be some way to get to know them. They always seem to be having so much fun. Perhaps one of these days I can...
Lori!
Oh, hello, Brooke.
At the window again? Your grandfather's not going to care too much for that. After all, you're supposed to be studying.
Studying? Hang it all, Brooke. It's Christmas Eve.
That's no excuse. But I do have a suggestion.
A suggestion?
Perhaps if we started your studies earlier, we might finish earlier. Then by 4 o'clock, you could give your undivided attention to the view.
And we'll start this very moment. Look, she's out there now. That's the one I like to watch. See her?
Yes. Though it is a strange way to spend Christmas Eve, shoveling snow off the walk.
She swings that shovel just like a boy. Interesting, isn't she?
Yeah. But the other one is pretty. She must be the oldest, I think. You know, I've been wondering if...
Look, she's seen us. She's smiling up at us. Brooke, I'm gonna talk to her.
Careful, Lori. Your throat.
I'm all right. Hello there.
Hello?
Isn't that hard work for a girl?
That's all we have in this family. Why don't you come out and help me?
Can't. I have the quinsy.
Oh, what a shame.
Isn't catching though. I can have visitors. Only, I don't know anyone.
You know me. Almost.
Could you come over and keep me company? I'd be very happy. Brooke, you think she'll really come?
I don't know, Lori.
Mommy!
I think she'll come.
I'm so glad you were able to come and visit. Let me take your coat.
Thank you. Well, I've come to entertain you. I'll read aloud and you can listen. I do love to read aloud.
I'd rather just talk, if you don't mind.
Oh no, I love to talk too.
If you'll come in here. This is the drawing room.
Christopher Columbus! What richness! Wait, this is a palace. It's marvelous. So roomy and so full of things. I call this splendor. I really do.
It's just a room. Will you have some tea?
Of course.
Sugar. How many lumps?
1, please. 2. 3.
3 it is.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Lawrence, now do tell me all about yourself. Of course, I know all about your school and the army. In fact, everything. But before that, what?
Well, I used to live in Europe with my parents, and...
Europe? I'm going to Europe, you know.
Really? When?
Oh, I don't know exactly. You see, my Aunt March, I just started working for her as companion, and what a fidgety, nervous soul she is, too. Well, anyway, my aunt has rheumatism, and the doctors thought baths might... Cookies? Thank you. Oh, not that she hasn't got a bath. She has a very nice one. Did you take any baths while you were there?
Baths?
I mean for your rheumatism.
I haven't got rheumatism.
Neither have I. But you see, I figured baths wouldn't do me any harm. I mean, that is to say, while I was... These cookies are good. Because I've always wanted to go to Europe. Not for the baths, of course. Not at all. For my writing. It's so good for writers. You see, my Aunt March... Oh, but you don't know my Aunt March. What were you going to say, Mr. Lawrence?
Oh, nothing. Except, I'm not Mr. Lawrence. I'm Laurie.
Well, Laurie, then. And I'm Jo. That's short for Josephine, of course.
Of course.
Tell me, how are you getting along with your grandfather, Laurie?
Oh, fine. Once I got used to him. You know, he's...
Oh, yes, I know.
I suppose we shouldn't even dare say it in front of his portrait.
He does look grim, doesn't he? I can see how his face might frighten a lot of people, but I can't imagine being afraid of him. Of course, every time I've ever seen him, he's been barking at something. But somehow, well, I rather like him.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh!
Grandfather.
So, you think my face frightens people, young lady?
Yes, sir. Frankly, I do. You understand, I don't think you mean to frighten them, but your face. You asked me, sir, and yes, I do think so.
And I bark, do I?
I have heard you bark. Yes, sir. Perhaps you don't bark all the time, but you do bark. Yes, sir.
But with all that, you rather like me, do you?
Yes, sir, I do. I really do, in spite of everything.
And I like you. Will you have a cup of tea?
Thank you. I had one. I was just going.
Wait a minute. I'll walk home with you, Jo.
No, you stay indoors, young man.
But Grandfather...
I should be enchanted to see Miss March home myself. Shall we go, my dear?
Thank you. Goodbye, Laurie.
Goodbye.
Lori? Did she come, Lori? What happened?
You won't believe it, Brooke. A miracle.
Yes, it was a miracle. Our home, that for so many months had only known the voices of my little women, now frequently echoed to men's voices too. Mr. Lawrence was suddenly quite neighborly, and Laurie was a constant visitor. Brooke came with him too, as a rule. It wasn't hard to see why. The way he and Meg smiled at each other made me happy, and a little sad. Young Lori smiled at Joe the same way, but the months went by and she gave him no encouragement. Joe was busy, you see. She was writing.
And yet 'tis whispered that when the gondolas glide through the fatal waters, these same waters still run crimson with the blood of Lady Viella and her gallant lover, slain by the phantom hand. The end.
Oh?
Yes, Beth. Come in.
You're crying. What's the matter?
My story.
Oh, poor Joe. Is it that bad?
It's wonderful.
Oh, well, Lori's waiting for you downstairs.
Oh, Bilge, I told him not to bother me.
He says he's going to wait until you come down.
Let him. I'd wish he realized I haven't time for his nonsense.
But he's waiting, Joe. What did I tell him?
Tell him I went up in smoke.
You aren't really, are you?
No, my darling. But I am simply not coming down, and the sooner Mr. Lawrence understands that.
Joe, Beth.
Meg, what is it?
Oh, it's dreadful, Joe. A telegram from the Army.
Father!
He's in the hospital in Washington. Marmy's leaving at once. You'd better come down.
There. I think I'm all packed now. Mr. Brooke, if you'll carry the suitcase out.
I'll be glad to, Mrs. March.
I'll help you, Brooke.
I do wish Joe would come back. She's been gone since...
That must be Joe. She always slams the door.
Joe, is that you? We're in the...
Nonsense. Can't you see it's not Joe?
Aunt March?
Well, where's that bad-tempered daughter of yours?
I thought she was with you.
Well, she isn't. Here, take this envelope. You'll need more than you asked for. There'll be other expenses besides your train fare.
Thank you, Aunt March. But why didn't Joe bring it?
Because we had words, that's why. As always, she was rude and impolite. She ran out before I could...
Marmy!
There she is. In here, Joe.
I've been running so Aunt March!
Yes, miss. I had to get dressed and ride all the way over here just because you were so obstinate.
But Aunt March...
I'm not interested in explanations. Good day. Joe, where have you been?
Yes, we were worried.
Well, Aunt March croaked as she always does, and I lost my temper. So I decided to get some money on my own. Here, Marmy, this will pay for your fare.
$30? Where did you get it?
I didn't beg, borrow, or steal. I only sold what belonged to me.
What?
Well, if I take my bonnet off...
Your hair, your beautiful hair. Oh, my Joe.
Your beautiful, beautiful hair.
Now, don't wail, Beth. It doesn't affect the fate of the nation. Really, I like it short.
Christopher Columbus, you look like a porcupine.
Really? I feel deliciously light and cool.
But Joe...
Lori, dear, her hair will grow back, and it'll be as lovely as ever. But Lori, she'll never be more beautiful than she is now.
Mrs. March, you'd better come along. Mr. Lawrence has the carriage outside.
Yes, I'm coming. Amy, Beth, Joe, take care of things. Goodbye, my darlings.
Goodbye, Marmy.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Marmy. Goodbye.
Don't cry, Joe. Father will be all right.
I'm not crying for Father, Beth.
What then?
My hair!
Dear gallant Joe, the bravest of my little women, the one who loved us most, dear Joe who could dream thousands of new stories and never see the ending of our own. I was sitting in my room that day. Their father had been home for a week, and at last I'd gotten back to my sewing. She burst into the room like a hurricane, and when I looked up startled...
Marmy, do something! Go downstairs quick! Brooke is kissing Meg, and Marmy, she likes it!
Joe? Joe,
Yes, Lori?
I saw you leave the wedding and come outside. I thought perhaps you wouldn't mind if I came out too.
No, I don't mind.
Don't feel badly, Joe. Even if Meg is married, you know, you've still got me. Of course, I'm not good for much, But I'll stand by you all the days of my life.
I know you will. You don't know what a comfort you are to me, Lori.
Joe, will you listen to what I want to tell you?
No, Lori, don't say it. Don't.
I will, and you must hear me. It's no use, Joe. We've got to have it out, and the sooner the better.
All right. Say what you like then. I'll listen.
Well, I've loved you ever since I've known you, Joe. Couldn't help it. I've tried to show you, but you wouldn't let me. Now I'm going to make you hear and give me an answer.
Lori, I wanted to save you this. I never wanted you to care for me so.
I know I'm not half good enough for you, but, Joe, well, if you love me, you can make me anything you'd like.
I wouldn't change you, Lori. I wouldn't change you at all.
Then, Joe, please.
Oh, Lori, I'm so sorry. So desperately sorry. But I can't say I love you when I don't.
Really and truly, Joe?
Really and truly, Lori. I don't think I'll ever marry.
Oh, yes, you will. I know you will. You'll meet some good-for-nothing, no-account fool, and you'll fall in love, and you'll work and live and die for him. I know you will, because it's just your way. I'll have to stand by and see it. Well, I'll be hanged if I do.
Lori, where are you going?
To the devil!
Lori didn't go to the devil. He went to Europe instead. And when Aunt March went over the following month, my Jo was faced with her first great problem. Whether to go to Europe with Aunt March, or to go to New York, as I had promised her, to live and work and write in her spare time. She chose New York.
Yes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I dropped my book. I'm the new governess. I'm Josephine March. Do you live here too?
Yeah. My name is Friedrich Baer. They call me Professor. I do teach.
How splendid! But of course that isn't all I do. I'm really a writer, a professional one.
So?
Oh yes, but I do wish you hadn't stopped playing. It was so beautiful. What is it?
It is a song, really. The words are by Goethe. Nur wer die Sehnsucht kennt. Do you understand German?
No, I don't.
Then I will try to say them for you in English. Let me see now. Nur wer die Sehnsucht kennt. Only who knows what longing is. Weiß was ich leid. Can know what I suffer. Allein, alone and parted far from joy and gladness. My senses fail, a burning fire devours me.
My senses fail. A burning fire devours me. If only I could write something like that. Something that would set other hearts on fire.
You truly like to write then?
Oh yes, writing is my life. I've scribbled ever since I was a child. Some of my stories have even been published. And I just sold another to the Weekly Volcano.
The Weekly Volcano? You must forgive my ignorance, but what is that?
Why, it's a magazine, of course.
Oh, you see, one can always learn.
Yes, indeed. That's why I came to New York. To see and hear and learn.
Then perhaps we can be of help to each other. I mean, well, since we are both to be living here anyway, perhaps you can teach me about magazines and I can teach you about music, yes?
Oh, yes. I think that would be wonderful. And Marmee, you have no idea of how exciting these months have been. Of course, Amy is learning a good deal in Europe, but I doubt if she'd had such a teacher as I have. Professor Baer continues to be ever so kind. One week he takes me to the theater, and another to the opera, and it's all so wonderful. Sometimes I feel I've known him all my life, when it really hasn't been quite a year. Of course, that's because we talk so much. At least, I talk. I'm sure that by now he knows every one of you through me. Meg and Amy and Beth, and you and Father, and even Lori. Only, he's always so quiet when I talk of Lori. But I'm running out of things to tell him, so you had better send me some news. Your letter says that Beth isn't well. I'm sure it will prove nothing serious. Be sure to keep me informed about her. Write me often. I miss you so much. with all I have here. I miss you dreadfully.
Miss Josephine?
Yes, Professor Bech?
May I come in? I want to talk to you. I read your latest story in the volcano as I promised.
Did you like it?
Miss Josephine, I must be honest with you. I was disappointed.
Oh.
Why do you write such artificial characters, such contrived plots? The Duke's vengeance, villains, murderers, fainting women? Oh, Miss Josephine, please, I am so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you.
It isn't you. It has nothing to do with you. I had a letter.
You have had bad news. And then a stupid professor comes blundering and makes things worse.
No, I want the truth. If I can't stand the truth, I'm not worth anything. Please.
Well, first I say to myself, maybe I have no right to speak, but then I say I maybe have no right to be silent, because she has talent.
You really think so?
Otherwise I would not say it. You know that, and I say to you, even sweep mud in the street before you are false to that talent. Only say to yourself, I will never write one single line which I have not first in my own heart. You will do that, my little friend?
I'll try.
You will write about the simple, beautiful things you know.
The things I know, the things I've seen all my life. I'm going home.
Home? You are leaving us?
That's why I was crying. It was in the letter. My family needs me. Beth is sick.
Beth was very sick. We lost her the week after Joe came home. Those were sad, dark months for me. My heart was heavy for the one who had gone, and heavier still for the one who remained. My Joe was so changed, so quiet now. Day after day, she closed her door on us, and I could hear the scratching of her pen as she wrote. It was as though she lived only for her work, nothing else, even when I told her the news from Europe.
Oh, but Marmee, that's wonderful. Lori and Amy, why, they were meant for each other. Really, I couldn't be happier.
And a few months from now, when they come back as man and wife, Joe, are you sure?
Of course I'm sure. Oh, I know what you're thinking, but you're wrong, Marmee. All that matters now is my writing. In fact, I'm off to the post office this very moment.
The post office?
To mail my novel. It's finished. I'm sending it off. You can read it when it comes back.
Maybe it won't come back. Maybe they'll publish it, Joe.
Oh, I'm not sending it to the publisher. I'm sending it to Professor Bech.
Professor Bech, why?
Because I promised him. Amy, you look simply wonderful. Europe and marriage both agreed with you, I think. Now tell me all about...
Here you are, Joe, dear. Something for you.
How nice. Thank you, Lori.
Oh, it isn't from me.
Then what?
Open it, Joe. Don't just look at it.
I can't imagine what. Why, it's a book.
My Beth by Josephine March.
They published
it.
it.
Lori, who left this with you?
A man. He had sort of an accent.
Where is he?
He wouldn't come in. He went away.
Oh, no, he couldn't have. He couldn't have.
Joe, where are you going? Joe!
Professor Bech! Professor Bech, wait! I don't understand. You were going away without even seeing me?
I didn't want to intrude. You have guests.
Just my family, and they want to meet you.
No, please, I think...
You see, we're having a sort of party. My sister Amy just got back from Europe. She's married to that boy I told you about, and...
To that Lori?
Yes, that's the one. So you see...
But I always thought that you and he...
You couldn't have. I told you.
Yes, you told me.
It's the first time we've all been together in ages. So you must come in and...
Please, just a minute before that is. I have something to say to you. I mean, would you... Oh, I have no right to think you will, but dare I hope that you and I know I should not ask. You are so young, lovely, so alive, and I have so little to give you, nothing but my heart, which is so full, and these empty hands.
They won't be empty if I put my hands in them.
Josephine? Josephine.
Shall we go join our family?